Hey, my friends, it's Leah with your Winning Wednesday, WINSDAY, coming to you on a gorgeous Wednesday afternoon. I hope everyone is having a wonderfully winning day and a fabulously winning week. I have had a wonderful week until about 10 minutes ago, and I was having all kinds of technological issues. I'm not sure what was going on, but my computer did not want to connect to anything. And so finally we got connected. So here we are about 10 minutes late, but that's okay. At least we're here and we're getting ready to do our Wednesday Wisdom at the Well. Today we're going to be looking at Proverbs chapter 4. Now, some of this we've already talked about a little bit as in the intro, but I want to look at this particular proverb in a little bit more depth today. So let's get your Bibles out if you have it with you, and let's look at Proverbs chapter 4. And I'm just going to read through it, and then we're going to talk about each aspect of it. It says, "Hear, my children, the instruction of a father, and give attention to know understanding. For I give you good doctrine. Do not forsake my law. When I was in, when I was my father's son, in other words, when I was a child, tender and the only one in the sight of my mother, he also taught me and said to me, let your heart retain my words, keep my commands, and live. Get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget nor turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will preserve you. Love her, and she will keep you." And it's talking about wisdom there. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And in all you're getting, get understanding. Exalt her, and she will promote you. She will bring you honor when you embrace her. She will place on your head an ornament of grace. A crown of glory she will deliver to you. Hear, my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of your life will be many. I have taught you in the way of wisdom. I have led you in right paths. When you walk, your steps will not be hindered, and when you run, you will not stumble. Take firm hold of instruction. Do not let go. Keep her, for she is your life. Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not walk in the way of evil. Avoid it. Do not travel on it. Turn away from it and pass on. For they do not sleep unless they have done evil, and their sleep is taken away unless they make someone fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. But the path of the just is like the shining sun that shines ever brighter into the perfect day. The way of the wicked is like darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. My son, give attention to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Do not let them depart from your eyes. Keep them in the midst of your heart, for they are life to those who find them, and health to all their flesh. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. Put away from you a deceitful mouth, and put perverse lips far from you. Let your eyes look straight ahead, and your eyelids look right before you. Ponder the path of your feet, and let all your ways be established. Do not turn to the right or left. Remove your foot from evil. So there is so much wisdom in this particular Proverbs chapter 4. So the first thing he talks about, he says, listen. Okay, so in some versions it says, hear me, children. In other versions it says, listen. So hearing and listening. And the truth is, those are two different things. So we can sometimes hear someone, but not really be listening to them. How many times has someone said to us, or have we said to someone, did you hear what I said? Because they might be looking right at you, and they might be nodding their head, but you can tell that they're not really with you. And he's saying, pay attention to what I'm saying. So when we listen and are paying attention to the words spoken, then we're really hearing what that person is saying. So he says, give attention. I want you to know and gain understanding from what I'm saying to you. So this is what Solomon is telling us in this. Pay attention to what I'm saying. So in verse 4, he said that when his father, who was David, spoke, he told him several things. He said, keep your words, keep these words in your heart. So he's saying, receive this instruction. And then he said, keep my commands. So he says, listen attentively, receive, retain, and obey. He says, get wisdom, get understanding. So seek after godly wisdom and obey it. And then he says, you will be guarded by this wisdom. So when we seek after this godly wisdom, then it's going to help us guard our hearts against evil. So he says, Get wisdom and stay wise. Keep it, hold on to it, retain it in your heart. So verses 5 through 8, each time he says get, he says get wisdom, get understanding. Whenever he says that, it's a translation of a Hebrew word that means to purchase something. So he's saying get knowledge, get wisdom, get understanding. And it's the most important acquisition that you will ever make in your life, other than salvation. When you get wisdom, that's the most important thing you're going to have, because wisdom is supreme, he tells us in verse 7. So he says, so make sure that you obtain this. If you don't obtain anything else in your life, spend everything you have to get wisdom. Spend your energy getting wisdom. So wisdom is the foundation. That's what it means when he says wisdom is supreme. Wisdom is the foundation to everything that matters. So get it. That's what he's saying. So spend all your assets on obtaining understanding. Spend everything that you have, all your energy, all your efforts, getting wisdom and understanding. That's what Solomon is telling us. So in verse 8, he says, cherish it and it will exalt you. Embrace it and it will honor you. Stop loving and embracing the things that don't matter. That's what he's telling us. He's saying, embrace wisdom and get understanding and forget everything else. Because if you have wisdom and understanding, then everything else will take care of itself. So godly wisdom cannot be purchased with money or material possessions. Rather, it must be purchased by embracing, loving, and cherishing it with your life. You've got to want it and pursue it. You've got to pay attention to correction and instruction in order to gain wisdom. So pursuing wisdom with every effort is what he's telling us to do. So in verse 9, he talks about that it will be a garland and a crown for you. So this is symbolic of God's grace and favor that will be visible to others when we pursue a life of wisdom, because we're going to live and walk in that wisdom, and it's going to crown our life with success in every area, because we're going to have wisdom in every area, because we're going to be seeking after it. See, it's a cycle. It's a cycle. When you seek after wisdom, then it's going to bring all of the right things to you, because you're going to be able to behave and act accordingly with that wisdom, because you've hidden it within yourself and you're going, okay, I've learned this. I'm going to use this to my advantage to do what I need to do. And I'm going to have a successful life by doing that. So in verses 10 through 19, it's talking about guarding this wisdom. And I want to read that out of a different version. This is out of the Holman Christian Standard. And it says, listen, accept my words, and you will live many years. I am teaching you the way of wisdom. I am guiding you on straight paths. When you walk, your steps will not be hindered. When you run, you will not stumble. Hold on to instruction. Don't let go. Guard it, for it is your life. Don't set foot on the path of the wicked. Don't proceed in the way of evil ones. Avoid it. Don't travel on it. Turn away from it and pass it by. For they can't sleep unless they have done what is evil. They are robbed of sleep unless they make someone stumble. They eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. The path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, shining brighter and brighter until midday. But the way of the wicked is like the darkest gloom. They don't know what makes them stumble. I love that, because it kind of puts it in a little bit plainer language for us. So he's saying, guard this wisdom. It keeps you from stumbling in the dark. It keeps you from stumbling when you're walking amongst darkness. You will have the light of wisdom that will light your path. And so you'll be able to see where you're going. This light, this wisdom brings life to you. It keeps you from falling down. So the wicked are addicted to performing evil. They're addicted to their evil deeds. Wicked people are fed by doing evil. It's their nutrition. It's their nourishment. If they live on finding evil to perform, I mean, how many of us know that that is just the truth? It seems like people that are prone to do bad things, they just keep on doing it. It's like they get a pleasure and a joy out of doing the wrong thing. And that's what Solomon is warning us against. He said they're addicted to performing evil. They can't sleep unless they've done something to someone else. So he warns against even trying wicked things. He's saying, don't let your foot even get on that path. If you don't try something evil, if you don't try evil behavior, you don't have to worry about becoming addicted to it. Isn't that the truth? It's like drugs or pornography or alcohol or anything else that can become an addictive thing to you. Sometimes shopping becomes an addiction, or gambling or something like that. But if you don't try it, that over expenditure of whatever that thing is, if you don't try it, you don't have to worry about becoming addicted to it. So he's warning us, don't even put your foot on that path. Just stay away from it. So a person who goes toward evil lives a life filled with gloomy darkness. That's what he's telling us here. So the benefit of staying away from evil is a longer life, a better quality of life, and a person who pursues wisdom and embraces it lives a life filled with light, the light of godly wisdom. So again, it takes you back to that godly cycle of the best way to live. So verse 19 says, the way of the wicked is like the darkest gloom. They don't even know what makes them stumble. They don't know what makes them stumble. A foolish person living in wickedness cannot see the connection between their behavior and what they've put in their mind. They can't see the connection between their sinfulness and the resulting punishment. They don't understand that those two things go together. The way you live has a result. There's a consequence to every action. And he's saying a fool does not see that they're bringing this stumbling on themselves by the way they live, because they're not living in wisdom. So they can't see the truth because they've allowed themselves to be deceived. And how do we know that we're being deceived? Because we know the truth. If you know the truth, then you can recognize the lie. Isn't that the truth? We've talked about that many times in our Sunday services. So in verses 20 through 27, let me look at that one real quickly again. It says, I'm sorry, whoops, my page blew over. Okay, verses 20 through 27 says, my son, give attention to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Do not let them depart from your eyes. Keep them in the midst of your heart, for they are life to those who find them and health to all their flesh. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. Put away from you a deceitful mouth and put perverse lips far from you. Let your eyes look straight ahead and your eyelids look right before you. Ponder the path of your feet and let all your ways be established. Do not turn to the right or left. Remove your foot from evil. So when we look at this, he's telling us to guard your heart above all else, for it is the source of life. That's what the Holman Christian says. Guard your heart above all else. He says, keep your heart with all diligence, for it is the source of life. Out of it spring the issues of life. So to guard it means to keep it safe from attack, to ensure that it doesn't get away from you, to ensure it doesn't get out of your hands. So you're going to guard it. But there's something more deep about that, and that is the heart itself. So it's not saying like the love story version of follow your heart. It's not talking about that. It's saying your heart is that Hebrew word, and it's leb, and that's the way it's translated almost all the way through the Bible. And that leb is the essence of who we are. It is the spirit of the person. So that Hebrew word, that essence of who we are, is the seat of our knowledge. And that seat of our knowledge is what directs our thoughts and our emotions, which of course is what dictates how we act and behave. So we want to guard that. We want to pay attention to what we're putting in here, and then we're going to guard that wisdom with everything that we have. We're going to guard our heart, because that's where everything that we do in our life comes out. So we ourselves are the educators of our hearts. Our essence, we educate who we are. We educate what we become. We can choose our worldview, is what this is talking about, which forms our thoughts and directs our actions and our behaviors. So when we incline our heart toward the Lord, and the result is our worldview, that the resulting effect of inclining our heart toward the Lord is a biblical or godly worldview. When we incline our heart toward the Lord, here's what happens. The result is a worldview centered on God and our relationship to Him through Jesus Christ. That's what happens. So verses 25 through 27 then is about our focus. So it's when we give our undivided attention to the path of God. It's that determination to not even look the direction of evil. So, and even more so, don't sample it. Don't even look that way and don't sample it. So when we do this, God will establish our ways. Our ways will be fixed and firm and secure. And as long as we remain fixed and focused on God's ways, then our path will also remain steady, so that it will lead us to life and not to destruction. Because if we live foolishly, we're going to find destruction. But if we live wisely, then we're going to find life. So these verses, all of these last few verses, address our eyes, our mouth, and our feet. Now, excuse me, why is that? Because we have to guard our eyes to prohibit ourselves from looking toward evil. That's why he says, keep your eyes fixed. Keep your eyes focused on the path that you're supposed to take. Because when we do this, if we allow ourselves to look side to side, then we're going to allow ourselves to be tempted by the things that are out there and not of godly wisdom. So we've got also to guard our mouths. So that means to not speak perversely or deceitfully or idly. You know, the Bible tells us that every idle word is going to be judged in eternity. So we need to be careful about the things that we say. And idle words can take on a lot of meaning. So I don't want to get into that because that'll take a long time. But we need to pay attention to what we are saying and how we're saying it and why we're saying it. So finally, we must guard our feet. So we need to keep walking on the path that God has set forth. Don't take a detour on an evil pathway. That's what he's telling us. He's going, there's a lot of paths out here, but you need to stay on the one that is that straight and narrow path that God has laid out in front of you. Stay on that path. Don't deviate from it. Don't take the fork in the road. Stay on the path. Because if we do that, we need to understand that there are traps out there set by Satan for us to fall into to distract us from walking with God. So we've got to know the truth so we can see the lie and not fall into it and not get trapped by it. So guard your eyes, your mouth, and your feet, and above all, guard your heart, because that is the source of life. Our deeds flow from the heart, the essence of who we are. Whether these deeds are good or evil is told by what we've put in ourselves. Because remember, Jesus said it's what comes out of us that tells the tale about who we are and what we're feeding ourselves. What comes out of us is the clear indication of what we are putting within. So the question for us today as I close is, are we feeding on the wisdom of the world that will surely lead us away from God and toward evil and ultimately lead to our destruction in this life and the life to come? Or are we feeding on godly wisdom that will surely lead us on a straight path toward righteousness and ultimately lead to eternal life with Christ? That's the question for us today. So I hope this is a good lesson for you. I feel like I kind of hurried through it, but that's okay, because I was having so much trouble technologically to get online today. But I hope this was a good lesson for you today. It's good for me to get to review these things because it helps me. I've got to remember to put wisdom within myself. And the wisdom that we find is in the Word of God. So if we stay in the Word, then we're going to find wisdom and understanding. So as always, I want to close by inviting you to join us on Sunday. We are going to be meeting at 10 o'clock for Sunday school and 11 o'clock for our regular worship service. But we're going to do something a little bit different this week because we're going to be meeting outside for our worship service at 11 o'clock. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a cookout. We're going to do hamburgers and hot dogs and all that kind of stuff. So there will be a list that goes out to everyone to tell you what we need everyone to bring. So be watching for that. It's going to probably come through a text from our church. So be watching for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, that's at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, and we will be live streaming our service. So we hope that you will make plans to join us. And of course, that will be on this Facebook page, Wellington, TX Church of the Nazarene. That's 11 o'clock Central Time. If you are in the Wellington area and you can join us live, we would love to see you in person. Come and eat a hamburger with us or a hot dog or whatever. And we meet at 1000 Emerald Street in Wellington, Texas, and we're going to be on the churchyard this Sunday morning. So I hope that you will make plans to join us and that you will have a wonderfully winning day, a fabulously winning week. And I hope to see you Sunday morning. Have a great day and a great week. See you then.